Live from New York, it's Ask an Engineer.
Season's greetings, everybody. Welcome to Ask Engineer. It's me, Lady Ada, the engineer, and with me, Mr. Lady Ada, broadcasting from downtown Manhattan. That's where the Adafruit factory is. We do our manufacturing and videoing and kitting and blogging and coding and Christmas tree decorating. Well, we don't
All
have
sorts
Christmas
of
tree, but
things.
all sorts of stuff. Okay, well, we've got an exciting show for you tonight. 1 hour's worth of products and videos doubling up because last week was Thanksgiving.
Yeah, last week we
Back.
had Show and Tell. JP hosted it, and then we couldn't do Ask an Engineer, but we said we'd be back this week. So we are back this week with a bunch of stuff to show and
Double
share.
the goodies. It's like a
That's right.
double stuffed Oreo. Delicious. Tell them the code and then tell them what's on site. Chanel.
All right.
Chanel. Show.
The code is CAPTO. It's for a Cap Touch product that we have, but it works on anything that's in stock except for, of course, gift certificates or things that aren't in stock. So use the code before 11:59 p.m. Eastern tonight. We'll talk about some of our live shows, including Show and Tell, which we just did. Do a little bit of a recap from the desk of LadyAda, including the great search. We have JP's product pick of the week highlight. You probably just saw JP's little video that we had from some Lego light up stuff. We have some advanced manufacturing, New York City factory footage. We have double the 3D printing videos and speed ups this week. We have Ion NPI, brought to you by DigiKey this week. It's analog devices. We got some top secret. We got some new products. We're going to answer your questions. We do that on Discord, adafruit.it/Discord, where you can put your questions in throughout the show. We answer them real time. We also store them up, get to them at the end as well. We're going to have some more about our discounts, some news, all sorts of fun stuff, all that and more on, you guessed it, Ask an Engineer.
Yay.
Okay, first up, don't forget the code is Kepto, LadyAda. There's free stuff. What do people get?
Okay. We still have our freebies going on when you order from the Adafruit shop. If you order $99 or more, you'll get this beautiful uh, coaster made from 2 millimeter thick PCB material with gold edging and Adafruit logo and some bumpers to keep it
One
from
of the
sliding.
few things we put on our logo on that's swag,
That's right. We
as
don't
they
do
say.
swags, but
We
this is
we
this
like to keep the logo on PCBs primarily, so this is a hack to do that.
Yes, it's true. It's like it's on something we made. So there you go. We're also giving away the KB2040 still, a lovely Pro Micro pinout compatible microcontroller with the RP2040 chip on there. It's got 200 plus K of RAM. It's got 8 MB of flash. It's got 2 buttons, STEM QT port. It's designed for use with keyboard projects, but you can use it with just about anything. Runs CircuitPython and Arduino and MicroPython wonderfully. 199 or more, you get free UPS ground shipping in the continental United States. It's brown, it's insured, it's unionized, it's UPS ground. We love it. It's a great way to ship stuff that's trustworthy. And then 299 or more, we are still giving away our Circuit Playground Express all-in-one dev board based on the RP20, sorry, on the SAMD21. It can run CircuitPython, Arduino, code.org, CS Discoveries, MicroPython, code, make code. It's got buttons and sensors and LEDs and pads that you can use alligator clips with, so you don't even need to solder. You can learn how to code and make electronics immediately.
All right, and because we just finished up our sales, if you're looking for gifts and you're going to run out of time soon, don't forget we always have Adafruit gift certificates. You can check that out on adafruit.com/gift certificates, or you could just search on the search bar. Let's kick it off with some news about our live shows. So we are back this week. Last week was JP. We did the show and tell this week. This week on the show and tell, Keith stopped by with this really cool project that he made for his young engineer. It was a DIY music player using Raspberry Pi.
Like a cutie pie and had like buttons and LEDs. It was like kind of cool.
Yeah, one of the neat things that you can do.
Chunky.
Yeah, and one of the things we like to see um, folks do with our electronics and code, because all open source is kind of build up to things like, oh, here's like something that lights up, and then here's something that's a keyboard, and then here's something that's a music player, and then here's something that's a touch screen, and then here's something that's kind of like your own computer that you built. So you can kind of go along and for through your electronics journey as you acquire more skills and do this. Music players are particularly nice to make because it's not like it used to be. So if you like music, it's almost impossible just to put 10 songs in a folder and drag them over and then listen to them. It's all connected to a cloud, or it's like Spotify.
Yeah.
It's Apple Music. It's like all these different things. and you're using your phone or whatever. But what if you just want a music player? And this is kind of neat. So this is, and it was the name of the project is
We have
Run Girl. It
the
was
Jet
really cool.
player. We have a
Yeah,
couple, DIY MP3 player projects.
yeah. So if you're interested in making your own music player, also if you think about it, like how do you train the next generation of engineers who's going to do like product design? Like okay, like
Yeah.
everything, everything plays music, everything, is a screen, everything has a battery. So how do you do all this stuff? You can't just say, like, we'll put an iPad in there. So that's kind of neat. So you can kind of work your way up, and there's like Raspberry Pi stuff you can do. If you learn Python, you can do it on just about anything. Code still works everywhere. And speaking of music, Liz stopped by with all these synth stuff. So if you want to see Liz's handiwork
Yeah.
with the latest synth, the latest, what would you call this?
It's a modular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's an entire world of that.
Yeah. I don't have time for that.
Yeah. So if you want to check that out, use CircuitPython and more.
Blinky.
Yeah. Noe made a really nice clock that is, I think it's one of the nicest like 3D printed enclosures. We're going to show this video later on in the show. Um, the clock has Earth time, has Mars time, and then we were talking about like you could do something like interstellar time, where it's like here's what it is on.
It's just such beautiful. Yeah. It's like
Yeah.
round. It's perfect clock
It's very
design.
appealing to like look at, and you could do like a moon phase clock. It's really neat. JP showed some lights for Legos. He had this Razor Crest, Lego propped from Star Wars, but also I noticed that you can use little LED NeoPixel lights like we were showing in the beginning for your Lego models, but also the ILM people actually used Adafruit stuff. They used NeoPixel rings, which is
Yeah.
kind of cool. And then Brent stopped by and showed the Whippersnapper no code, low code solution that uses this cool IKEA air sensor.
Is it also a guide? We'll talk
It's
about
also a guide.
Yeah.
We'll show it off soon. But it really showcased like, one of the hard things about showing Whippersnapper is it's so easy. It's like, okay, you plug it in and now it's online and now it's doing stuff. The end. But if you also want to, really dig into the code, this project's a remix that Brent showed, that Liz did, so you'd be able to do that as well. But it's really neat. It's like it's only a few seconds, and like my joke is because we got this feedback. It's like, oh, you guys are making it too easy for IoT projects, as if there's enough IoT projects and there's enough out there that people can do, because a lot of folks just want to kind of put this stuff together. Like, I just want to get an alert when my basement is flooding. That's it. That's all I want.
Yeah.
Or I just want to know when the air quality is going to change. I don't want to like commit my next 4 years into learning computer science yet.
Yeah.
So it's just a way to get you going. So anyways, we'll be doing show and tell next week. And once again, thank you, JP, for showing up and Sharon last week. Okay, we do Desk of LadyAda. We do that every single Sunday. It's in two parts. What was the part one this week?
I just have a bunch of prototypes. I got this, this Grow feather wing. I got some samples of LED strip. I got a, capacitive touch feather wing. So I just showed off a couple demos. These cool square switches, squishes, square squishes.
And then we do the Great Search, where Lady uses her power of engineering to help you find the things on digikey.com. What was funny this week, I get an alert when Adafruit's on different comment sites. This one was Hacker News, and someone was talking about their first like electronics and PCB project, and they're like, I couldn't use the DigiKey site until I started watching the Great Search with Lamore, because I just didn't know how to use all the pieces of the website, because it's like it searched for millions of parts.
They have no
So this week, what did you help people find?
Somebody was showing off genuine versus not so genuine Hacko tips, and it's a great tip to use official tips. Even if you're using a soldering iron that is using compatible, that it's like, oh, it'll use compatible tips. It's best to get genuine ones because the build quality really will differ. And if you cheap out, the soldering tips will oxidize and get crispy, and they won't work. They won't be able to conduct heat, and you will be so sad because you won't be able to. You'll be like, why is my solder not melting? Even though it's heated up, it's because it's oxidized, and you're not able to get through the crusty carbon layer. So I showed off some different tip styles that you might want to check out. Different, what whether you want wide bar, hoof, screwdriver or pointy tip, and pros and cons of using all those different sizes. And they're all stocked at DigiKey. So definitely like pick up one of each, before you need it, because having the right tool makes a big difference.
And, great searches powered by a lot of requests that are out there. That one was on X, formerly known as Twitter. You can tag us on just about any social media platform. You can email me, pt@adafruit.com. You can put in a YouTube comment, whatever you want to do. If you're looking to use DigiKey search in the best way possible, this person spends a lot of time in there.
I do.
That's what we do. We should use it. Okay. JP's product pick of the week is our weekly discount automatically applied segment that JP goes over and you put it in your cart and you don't even have to type a discount code. Here's this week's highlight.
It is the HUSB 238 USB-C power delivery breakout. When I plug in the HUSB 238, it is now giving me 20 volts. So I'm going to give it 20, or this 19.6 here, by plugging in the other end of one of those little pigtails there, and you'll see all of my little wireless LEDs lighting up. And so this one here has the 9-volt jumper set there. Now is going to provide us with 9. To my power input for the little flying faders here, you can see they are now moving around under the power of this power brick that's supplying 9 volts. It is the HUSB 238 power delivery breakout.
And don't forget, JP's workshop is tomorrow, and then Friday there is Deep Dive with Tim, where you can get into all the innards of CircuitPython and more. If you're interested in Qualia, look at the latest Deep Dive. Tim did an excellent job talking about all the things that you can do with our Qualia displays in CircuitPython, so do check it out. Speaking of, it's Python on hardware time. Brr, 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 brr. What's the song?
Okay. 2 weeks worth.
Yeah, well, 2 weeks sort of. I mean, you can get our newsletter. We have I think the most popular, whatever, if there's a way to do that.
I want to say it's the most popular.
Yeah.
What's wrong?
Yeah. So there's thousands of people who subscribe to the Adafruit Daily Python on Hardware newsletter. We don't track, we don't do metrics, we don't do anything. You can subscribe, unsubscribe anytime. It's on a separate website, adafruitdaily.com, because we don't even want it to be associated with your shopping experience at all.
It's not Substack.
Because we all know what happens when you go to a website and you buy something, they spam you forever. We don't, but we do want to do newsletters and more. So we've made a separate website called Adafruit Daily, and that's where we have multitudes of newsletters, including this one. So first up, we have some stories, some news in the world. This is kind of good news for everybody who's been paying attention to this. The Raspberry Pi Compute Module 4s are coming back into the retail channels if you've been waiting. They're out. They're happening. It's slowly but surely, just like all of this.
Pi 4s are all completely in stock.
Yeah.
If you want a Raspberry Pi 4, you can get one.
Yeah,
right
we
now
changed the limit too, so you can get more than just one Pi 4 right now. So we do have those. You can check out the benchmarks for the Raspberry Pi 5, talking to an oscilloscope with Python. This is interesting. While we were on break for 1 week, OpenAI collapsed and then came back, and Limor had done an article interview
like months ago
with IEEE Spectrum, and it was kind of interesting because there's a lot of stuff going on right now with OpenAI and how these models are trained and everything. But just to summarize, ChatGPT style, ChatGPT, it appears it was trained on Limor's code so much that it's a very good coding companion for her. So when she's writing Arduino libraries or certain bits of code, the code that's outputting for that types of stuff looks like her code because it was probably trained on her code. And we're actually fine with that. When we use ChatGPT, we'll put it in either the README, we'll put it everywhere that we say, we use this, and then we put the link to the actual ChatGPT session so you can see that. No one else is doing that, that's fine. We think that's good because this is changing. Every day people are using these tools for more. We think this is a good use because it's Limor's code, and then it's popping out code, more of her code companion. And if you're wondering, hey, what do we think about you doing this? Yeah, do it, because we
do it.
LadyAda is not going to be able to be a one-on-one code coach for you, but with this, maybe she can in some way. So, anyways, there's an interview with her, and you can see they made a nice graphic too.
It's a nice graphic.
Yeah, they did a good job. IEEE, that's the deal. So, anyways. And that being said, I wanted to go to Playgrounds and have you talk about this project. So Playground is our new.
Oh, wait, can you scroll down?
Oh yeah,
It's in the newsletter. We highlight it. We
yeah.
highlight projects in newsletters, by the way. So
Oh yeah,
if you want your newsletter highlighted,
yeah.
putting it
Oh,
on Playground is a great way to do it.
one last thing I should mention: Hackspace Magazine is out. There's a bunch of Python projects, Python hardware projects, obviously. And then if you want, you can go to playground.adafruit.com and check out, or just go to our learn system, learn.adafruit.com, and check out Playground, because on Playground there's all these guides that you and the community can do, and then we put in our newsletter, so it's a full circle of things.
Yes.
So
It's an ecology.
yeah, so you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, DJ Delty did a project. He showed it off on Show and Tell a couple weeks ago, and I was like, that's a cool idea. So there's a lot of people who play like truck simulators. And they're, you want to use a microphone. Well, so they use a headset, but they're like playing with other people, to like pretend like they're on a CB radio. But he's like, wouldn't it be cool if actually you could use a CB radio? And so, this is a project showing how to turn a CB radio into like you click it to mute and unmute, and then you can use the microphone inside as a mic. And so it's a bit of a build, but I guess he really likes playing this game. And so this is a really neat hack showing how to take existing hardware. Like, I don't even know. I mean, I'm assuming it must be very easy to get. CB radios are probably not super popular anymore, since everyone's got Telegram and WhatsApp and phones. But you can make cool props for your video games. So I just thought this was neat and a great use of CircuitPython, because it's really easy and it's accessible. And you shove some wires into the CB radio thing and you put it in a nice case, and it works great. And there's been a lot of CircuitPython projects published on Playground. So check out the featured projects. This Wi-Fi matrix. Oh, wait, can you go back to the Playground?
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of projects. So check it out. Lots of CircuitPython in particular. It's a good place to post up your Python hardware.
And in the past, one of the things that we were asked is, hey, I have a cool CircuitPython project. Can I publish it on Learn? And now we have Playground, which is exactly that. It's the same authoring tool, and you can put it there. Then we see it, we feature it on the blog, we feature it on the newsletter. More people contribute to your project, and we're keeping this ad-free, tracking-free. It's just for you to use, and no strings attached. It's just to help you document your project somewhere. There's lots of places you can do it online, but you need accounts to view like the whole thing. Sites kind of hide the content behind a sign up. I get that that's our model. We don't have the model. We make hardware, open source hardware, and then we do this as a community service for everyone. So do check it out, and put a guide up.
Okay.
We do this every single week. It's delivered to your inbox. It is adafruitdaily.com. Okay, let's go to some. Let's take a little bit of a break. Let's go to some factory footage, and then we'll bounce back to some guides. And that's factory footage. Okay, let's go do some open source hardware news. I have not checked recently, but I believe right now we are up to 712 published open hardware designs, according to the OSHA certification.
Yeah, it's over 700 for sure.
It is. Out of 2,600 of the certified designs, we have 712 actions. Speak louder than words. When someone says open or a company says open, They can say it, but this is one way to do it for sure. So we're pretty proud of that. We have thousands of guides. This is where we put them up at learn.adafruit.com. What are the guides on the big board this week?
Glad you asked. Okay, kicking it. We started with an update. Oh, do you want to like maybe hide me so we can see the?
Fine.
Yeah,
Us?
hide us.
Sure.
Okay, we've got top left Qualia guide got updated, now handles backlight management and another Arduino example. JP did this beautiful Lego set lighting using our wired LEDs. A lot of people build Lego kits for the holidays, or they get Lego kits, and you want to light them up. And you can buy expensive light up kits, or you can DIY it. Just grab the raw LEDs from us and then solder them to an AW9523 PWM driver for constant current PWM lighting. Or you can just wire them directly to a coin cell if you just want just solid light. And so JP has a couple different examples on how to do that. We've got this excellent Qualia S3 space clock. So we've got those gigantic 4-inch diagonal displays that you can now control from CircuitPython. So Liz and Noe and Pedro collaborated on making a desktop clock that can go between Earth mode or Mars mode. So if you want to track your time in Mars sols, not soul as in like the sole of your feet or like the spiritual essence of humanity, but SOL, like the sun. So check that out. It's a really beautiful print. And we've also published the S3 flight proximity tracker by Trevor. This guide is neat because it will geolocate where you are based on IP address, and then you tell it which way you're facing, and it will tell you when flights come by, where are they from and to, and it'll show you the logo. So you can be like, oh, there's like a Delta flight flying into New York City, or if it's flying over you, it's going to some other city. So if you look up in the sky and you're like, hey, there's a plane, and where is it going to?
Yeah.
Now you know.
One of the examples that people are probably familiar with from the viral social media meme or video that they've seen somewhere is the sphere in Vegas. It'll look up at the planes as it's going by, and it's the same thing. So it's not actually looking at the planes, it's getting the data.
Yeah.
And the eyeballs and like, the cool, like emoji character like thing that's there will look up and see the planes go by. So that's kind of cool. So you can make one of those on your own.
Yeah.
So we'll have some more guides during the week. Don't forget, Playground is one of the things that you can use right now. You can go to Playground right from Adafruit, and you can see all the guides yourself. The chat was asking, is there a search for it? We're adding search, but it's now we allow Google to index on all the search engines. So
as of like this week,
yeah,
started real slow.
So you could just use whatever search engine and probably just put the there's the little trick that you use to put there, because they do a really good job. But of course, this will be all slurped up into the search system as well. But do take a look at the featured notes and more. And that is our open source hardware news and more for the week. Stuff by next week. Okay, let's do some 3D printing videos. Okay, so we're going to play these back to back to back to back. So we will be doing the quality display, the space clock, the speed ups, and more. We'll see you on the other side.
You can power RGB TFT displays with the Adafruit Qualia ESP32S3. Featuring a built-in RGB display peripheral, this ESP32 dev board comes with 16 megabytes of flash for buffering large images, animations, or even video. It can power a big 4-inch 720 by 720 round display for making projects with a unique shape. Included are pins for a capacitive touch overlay so you can have touch control with supported displays. 2 built-in side buttons can be used for user input, such as interfacing with the display's brightness or cycling between modes. CircuitPython support makes it easy to write software using the Display I/O library. Demo code is available for initializing various display sizes so you can quickly get up and running. The product guide features documentation for getting started with both Arduino and CircuitPython. You can set constant current for the backlight control circuit using the onboard jumpers. You'll want to reference your display's datasheet for getting the correct voltage. We designed and 3D printed a case for this 4-inch display in an all-in-one snap-fit enclosure. Translucent PLA lets you see the Qualia ESP32S3 dev board, reminiscent of gadgets from the 1990s. We also designed a snap-fit case for this 4-inch 480 by 480 square display. This features 3D printed buttons using flexible TPU filament for easy button actuation. A built-in recess section allows for easy access to the buttons and the USB-C port. We think the Adafruit Qualia ESP32S3 is the best IoT dev board for exploring these RGB displays and hope they inspire you to create new projects. You can build a retro-inspired clock using Adafruit's Qualia S3 and a 4-inch round display. This project lets you switch between your local Earth time and Mars time displayed as a classic analog clock. A 4-inch 720 by 720 round display makes for a space-age themed clock housed in a snap-fit 3D printed enclosure. Powered by the Adafruit Qualia ESP32S3, this dev board features an RGB TTL interface for TFT displays. It's got the ESP32S3 with 16 megabytes of flash, 8 megabytes of PS RAM, stemma ports, 2 user buttons, and backlight control. An arcade button is mounted to the back of the spherical orb, and it lets you switch between local time and Mars time. The display is nestled inside the orb, and it swivels back and forth, allowing for the best viewing angle. The latest version of CircuitPython adds support for the Qualia S3 and Display I/O library for the 4-inch round display. The code uses bitmap images of Mars and Earth, while the numbers, hour, and minute hands are drawn using vector I/O shapes. The images, fonts, and graphics are all customizable, so you can stylize it to match your preference. The enclosure is designed to be 3D printed and snap fits together. A 40-pin FBC extension board and ribbon cable connect the 4-inch round display to the Qualia S3 that's secured to the cover on the bottom of the base. We hope this inspires you to check out these 4-inch round displays in Adafruit's Qualia ESP32S3 for your next IoT project.
All right, that is 3D printing for the week. Don't forget, Capto is a code. We're going to jump right in to some INPI.
on MPI.
INPI brought to you by DigiKey and Adafruit. Thank you, DigiKey. This week is Analog Devices. LadyAda, what is the new exciting thing coming out of analog devices this week.
Okay, this week from ADI, which bought Maxim, which bought Trinamic, is the new Trinamic 50 TMC 5240. This is yet another in the family of Trinamic stepper motor drivers, kind of famous for their silent steppers that use very high quality motor control to enable very fast but very quiet motor control. And this one is kind of neat because it does even more. In fact, I was looking at this and I was like, wow, this actually kind of replaces almost all the stepper motor control code I've ever had to write or have used in my life. So it's up to 36, like, 5 to 36 volt, up to 2 amp, per leg, bipolar stepper motor controller. But it also has a lot of built-in capabilities, such as motion control. Of course, it can do stepper control. It has an encoder reading capability. It's got motion planning. You can have UART or SPI control rather than most of these stepper drivers before you've used GPIO. This one uses SPI or UART. Up to 256 microsteps per step, a reconfigurable stepper, micro stepping sine wave table if you want to change it from being default sine. I'm trying to think what else is in there, and well, we'll go through it all. But very powerful, kind of does it all step motor controller. So this is the kind of thing it's going to it's going to control chunky stepper motors. They can go up to 2 amps, 36 volts. This happens to be like, I think, 200 milliamps, 12 volts. This is a smaller stepper motor, but basically, any motion control that has an XY gantry, normally you could use like a full H bridge like we do on our, here is our motor feather wing. And what we do with the motor feather wing is we actually PWM the individual A, B, C, D pins, all 4 pins, to create smooth motion. So you can do single stepping where you can go like 1 step at a time, chunk, chunk, chunk. That's definitely the easiest. It's the fastest to implement, but you don't get really good resolution. And it's kind of loud because the stepper motor doesn't move smoothly between each step. It kind of like rockets to the step and then kind of oscillates a little bit. So if you want smooth control, you want to like slowly micro step up and down from the 2 points that you want to travel between. A lot of people who are in the maker community or even engineers, they'll have a 3D printer. 3D printers are really popular. Home example of something that has an XY gantry. So there's going to be a stepper motor that controls the head and that goes back and forth. This is just a random 3D printer that we've sold. The XY goes back and forth, and you want to move you want it to move quickly, but also smoothly because you don't want a loud and jittery print. And you also want a fast print, and the faster you can move the head, the faster your 3D print will complete. Okay, so like I said, this is from ADI's tutorials on stepping and micro stepping. You can, most stepper motors are about 200 steps per rotation, and you could just step 1 per, you toggle the A and B and C and D pins, and with a motor controller, and you can just step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 200 times per rotation. But you're not going to get very good resolution. Of course, it's going to be very loud. So the best thing to do is to use microstepping, where you slowly PWM the motor driver to smoothly move between the steps rather than just going like chunk, chunk, chunk between each step. The bad news is anyone who's ever used microstepping knows is that the frequency you microstep at is going to resonate through the motor and through the coils, and you're going to get like a really annoying squeaking, squealing sound. And what Trinamic is kind of famous for is they have learned how to adapt the stepper PWM and like the frequency, and I don't know, it's like the magic called silence, step silent or whatever, that basically makes it like super quiet, but you still get all of that power and smooth motion. So if you do want to have a finished product that has stepper motor control, but you don't want it to be squeaky, you're probably using a Trinamic stepper motor controller already. This is kind of the overall block diagram for it. So the microstep sequencer is, again, something that they've had in previous motor controllers. The thing that's new here, I think, is the motion controller with ramping. So when you're not only are you having to micro step between each step, but you also want to slowly speed up the motor and then move very quickly and then slowly slow it down, or you decelerate, because you want to go between 2 points accurately. So you don't want to like go over the distance you want, you can't go backwards. You want to like slowly speed up so you don't jerk the motor, which will cause noise and vibration. And then when you're getting close to where you're about to end up, you want to, put the brakes down and slowly end up exactly at the spot you want to end at. And normally you would have to do that with a very complicated motion controller that would be programmed in your microcontroller or microcomputer. And especially if you have more than one stepper, this becomes very complicated to program, because you're having to like constantly track multiple linear algorithms, and the X and Y and Z are not necessarily going to the same speed and the same distance. It's a lot of work. So what's nice about this motor is it does that all for you. You tell it how many steps you want to go to, and you set up the ramp up, attack, decay, release, whatever, and it will do that the whole motion for you and let you know when it's done. You can communicate it with UART or SPI, and we'll go through it so you can have multiple motors. There's also an encoder unit I mentioned, interrupts, and there's also some neat stall detection as well. A lot of so this is stuff I was talking about with the 8-point motion controller. So stealth chop is what makes it quiet. Spread cycle, I think, is just kind of what makes it reduce current and be precise as it goes from the beginning of the step to the end of the step. Stall guard is what lets it detect the back EMF, so you know when it's stalled, which is really valuable, because you might have end switches on your XY gantry, but first off, those can fail. Or maybe you want to have some, there could be something in the way of your motors that's stopping it from moving. Heaven forbid it bumps into a person or bumps into the something it's machining. You can detect that and immediately stop it. And then cool step keeps your motors nice and cool, because they do overheat. Okay, so this is the diagram. It only does one motor, of course, but you can connect multiple motors. There's two pin configurations, the TSOP and the QFN. QFN is smaller, but if you go to the next page, the TSOP has better thermal resistance. And of course, it's going to be a little bit bigger. You'd want to have the center pad go to your through a 4-layer board, maybe have 2-ounce copper, and then behind it or above it, you're going to have a heat sink that might be necessary. SPI, so I think the previous stepper motor drivers that I've seen from them, they had UART or individual pin control. These now have SPI interface, which is kind of nice, because it means you can control pretty much any number of motors you want, and each one will just have a unique chip select. And of course, SPI is very, very fast. So you can write and read from the register map. There's a huge number of registers that you can access. I won't go through all of them. There's also UART single wire, which is kind of interesting. I guess this is for back compatibility. With this, you would have all the motors share a single UART, but you can set the node address, and the node address is set, I think if you go to the next page, you can set the node address with a couple different pins. There's 3 pins that you can, configure. And then you have like nodes 0 through 7. And then if you need more, apparently there's a way to configure it so you can use like up to 255 motors. But this way they all, I guess they chain one wire and they share one wire. So I guess if you want to use UART, maybe some existing motor controllers that are set up to do UART mode, for back compatibility. Honestly, I would use SPI. It's going to be a lot faster, but you do need more wires. What Trinamic is known for, again, silent stealth chopping. So they say absolutely no noise whatsoever with these motors. The only motor, the only noise you're going to hear is from the ball bearings. And the ramp generator, again, I think this is kind of the most interesting thing, because instead of you having to manually deal with, okay, slowly speed up the motor through like the A1 phase, and then the interrupt goes off. Okay, remember to change the controllers to drive the stepper motor even faster. Okay, next interrupt. go to AMAX, next interrupt. It handles everything for you. It will automatically decelerate if you're using too much current, or it will track the number of steps. So you will get to the final location even if you have power dips or if you stall out. There is support for reference switches, so mechanical stops built in, so it'll automatically stop when it hits a mechanical stop. You won't end up like bashing the motor into the side of the gantry. Also, again, in addition to having mechanical stops, you want to detect a motor stall to, for an emergency stop or to reduce the amount of current you're using. It can detect motor stall. There's a couple configurations I noticed on how to do this, but using the back EMF basically will say, hey, we're not actually moving. We're getting we're getting a lot of back EMF while I'm trying to step. It'll let you know, and it can automatically deactivate the motor. And encoder support as well. So if using a stepper motor, home to a reference switch, a stop switch on the left and right side is very common. But if you're doing precision servo-like motion control, you might want to have an encoder as well. There is encoder support. It will keep track of the encoder count for you, and use that when you're telling it in the motion planner, like, hey, I want you to go to this location. It will use the encoder instead of trusting what it thinks is the steps. And so if you end up slipping, the encoder will detect that, and you'll automatically make up any lost steps. It's available as a breakout board. This is a tiny breakout board, which is not the same size as like many stepper motor driver shields. They use like a kind of like a Pololu pinout. Maybe I don't know who invented it first. This is similar, but it's not exactly. But remember, you can't use the GPIO control for this. This is SPI or UART only. So it's not back compatible with those like step forwards direction, enable micro step GPIO control. You have to send the commands over SPI. So it's a little bit more advanced. You would need to redesign your PCB if you wanted to like upgrade your 3D printer design with this.
Available at DigiKey.
They are in stock, and there's also they're in stock. They just got in, so I think like that one that's missing, like I bought it from 250, and then on the overhead, I did pick up also one of their eval boards, although I didn't realize when I first picked this up that it didn't have GPIO control, and I haven't finished writing any driver code for it. But this is a nice eval board. What I like is it's open hardware, so you can get the design files. These are the control pins, motor output, motor power, some nice capacitors. And then this just shows you, hey, this is, the size of the motor driver on a 4-layer board. So a nice eval board if you want to get started with this. I think if you're making a very nice stepper motor controlled robotic gantry system, this is going to definitely save you a lot of time with motion planning because it does it all for you.
All right, we got a 1-minute video. We're going to play it.
Hi, my name is Thomas Ernst. I'm with Dynamics since almost 10 years now, and now we are part of the big analog devices family. And I've got our all-time classic demo with me, and it showcases our benefits, the benefits of our stepper drivers really well. For example, we can detect the load of the motor shaft from the information the motor gives us. And if we increase the load angle opens up, and we can use this information to reduce the current that we drive into the motor. And this keeps the motor cool and saves up to 75% energy. Our drivers are optimized for high-resolution micro-stepping, and this enables a really reliable and smooth motor run. And on top of that, we have our stealth shopper, which makes the stepper motor absolutely silent.
Hard on NPI.
All right, we're going to roll right into new products. Don't forget, code is Capto. Let's go.
New.
First up,
Okay, we finally have some of these bar displays in long, thin TFT displays. These are like 320-ish by 900-ish pixels. They are really nice bar displays that you can control with one of our Qualia boards. They just came in like at 4 p.m. today, so I don't have a demo. Maybe next time I'll set up a demo to show you guys. But they are RGB TTL, so you can't control them with any Arduino. You need something that's designed for RGB 666 display control. But they've got lots of pixels and they're like nice, long, and thin. It's rare to see like such thin displays. They're
yeah,
thinner than a phone. I think they would be used for like heads-up
we
displays.
have some fun demos. We'll show you.
Yeah, well, some fun demos, sushi conveyor belts and such. But they're finally in stock, so if you've been waiting for these, pick them up. Next, we've got an update for our 8x16 LED backpacks. We've been slowly redesigning all of our LED backpack boards to have STEMMA QT board connectors on the back, and this one has 2 of them, so you can easily chain together multiple backpack boards or connect other sensors and devices. So this is the latest round in our big redesign push. We've got many, many redesigns. So all of them will eventually have STEMMA QT ports. Right now, only the red one does, but we'll do the rest of the colors.
So,
Next up, also had a redesign for this RTD HDMI driver that's for a 5-inch display. If you go back, I'll show you what changed. What changed is it used to have a separate cable for USB. Now it has a micro USB port right on there. It's a little bit more compact. And it comes like pre-programmed now. It doesn't have the various select for source. It just does HDMI in automatically. So you don't have to worry about accidentally selecting a separate source. But the biggest change is that it now has the micro USB instead of a separate USB cable.
okay.
But it looks great. Works with
Further
anything that is HDMI.
Next up,
Also have an update to the Ultimate GPS Breakout. It's like one of our most popular boards. We're still selling this extremely popular GPS that can use the internal antenna or an external antenna. Works, great with Arduino, CircuitPython, Python, anything that wants UART GPS data. I think this one is the one that also can be used for high altitude, can do 10 hertz updates. I love that you can just use external antenna. So the new thing is it now comes with the battery attached on the back. So if you want to have the real-time clock, keep track of time, even when it's depowered, you no longer have to solder the battery on. It comes soldered on for you. Very handy.
all right, and then the star of the show, besides you, LadyAda, our team, our community, everyone who purchases things from Adafruit to support an open source hardware company manufacturing in the USA is
Yay, this 3.5-inch capacitive multi-touch display that you can be used in SPI or 8-bit mode. These are some displays that I bought like almost 10 years ago and I forgot about them. And then we were cleaning up and I found a bin of 800 displays and I was like, oh my goodness, I should really get these into the shop. So I designed a breakout board, but it's good timing because I've been doing so many redesigns that I've learned a lot and made this board even better. So if we go to the overhead, so one nice thing is it has a iSpy connector. So instead of having to have a gigantic wired up demo, look at how elegant this is. I just have this Cutie Pie board with a iSpy Cutie Pie BFF on the back, and it just plugs and plays. And I have full backlight and touch support. All connected up, so it makes, and it's, I can move it around easier. So this is a multi-touch display, so you can actually have it can detect multiple fingers. So here I've got 4. It can do 5, but I don't have, I guess it's hard to do 5 fingers at a time. I don't know, you can't really tell, but it can do 5 multi-touch. It's 320 by 480. You can use SPI, and it can do pretty fast SPI to the onboard display, although I'll say if you want really fast updates, use the 8-bit input. So you'll need a lot more pins and of course a microcontroller that can handle 8-bit display updates, but you're getting 8 bits at a time instead of 1 bit at a time. So it's like at least twice as fast, maybe 4 times as fast. It's got capacitive multi-touch over I2C. There's also an IRQ pin, so you can detect when a touch is detected. On the SPI port, there's the micro SD card, so you can store images if you want to display them on here. Got some mounting pads, level shifting. You can use this with I2C or SPI because it has built-in memory buffer. Even though it's got 320 by 480 pixels, 2 bytes per pixel, you can use it with any microcontroller pretty much because the image is buffered on here. You just tell it, hey, draw red at this location, and it will draw red at that location. So, it's great for use with microcontrollers, microcomputers. Raspberry Pi has support for this display as well. And now with capacitive touch. So we have a resistive touch one and a beautiful capacitive touch one with nice shiny display and multi-touch support.
And that's new products.
New. Okay, we're like right on time.
Yeah, we're gonna do some top secret. You can put your questions in Discord. We have a couple of them lined up already. Don't worry about those. But let's do some top secret, and then we'll bounce over to some questions. Okay, this week in top secret, I'm gonna play 2 videos, and then I'm gonna show 1 image. All right, LadyAda, what is this?
Okay, this is a cool switch. So we've carried those 808 step switches. And then somebody emailed us and said, hey, that company also makes these cool illuminated square switches, square switches.
Square witch.
Switches. And what's neat is you can see that they got the 12 millimeter pins, but then they also have 2 more LED pins on the side. This is, see, it's marked negative, and this one's marked positive. This is the TS series. And so I have it wired up here. And when I press it, it has a kind of a nice glow. It's kind of a cool white. And I have it wired, so the switch obviously turns it on, but you can turn on the switch the LED independently. I just have a little resistor here to current limit it, and it's a kind of nice little switch. I like the feel of it. So we'll be selling these in a pack. And then I think the plastic piece can come off, so if you want, you can even put something underneath or draw if you want to have a labeled button. Yeah. So it could make for like a low-cost macro pad.
Use a little color printer, print out stuff. It'll be cool.
Nice.
All right, LadyAda, what's this?
This is the 3.5-inch HX and FT 480 by 320 TFT screen with capacitive touch. This is one of those funny stories where I actually bought these screens like almost 10 years ago and I forgot about them. But it's a nice capacitive touch 3.5-inch display. And this is just the breakout. So you can use iSpy, you can use pins for 8-bit or SPI mode. And I was like, oh, well, let's make a Featherwing version of this too. So this time I've got the feather plugged in. I've got a little issue here where this doesn't sit quite flat. So I'm going to fix that in the next revision. But the touch part and the LED display part works great. And what's cool is you saw that this is a multi-touch. So, it can detect multiple fingers at the same time using the I2C interface for the capacitive touch. So all I got to do is I got to fix this. See, this little part is bumping into the chip. I'm going to move this down, and then hopefully this will be ready to put in the store.
All right, and then I have one more that I'm going to try to pull into the line. It's always dangerous.
What? Dangerous.
Okay, what is this?
This is an update to the 2.7-inch e-ink shield. So we had to redesign the whole thing pretty much from scratch because the e-ink display changed the length of the flex, and then it comes from a place. You have to flip it over, and then so it's got redesigned. I'm doing a lot of redesigns. I'm like 90% done. So some of the tougher ones are left over. And this is one of the ones that's been out of stock for a very long time, but hopefully I'll be able to wrap it up and get this e-ink shield back in the store.
All right, and that's top secret for the week.
Get back in that vault.
Okay, just a reminder with Code Kepto. I hope you found some things to purchase tonight. Let's do the questions. We've got a bunch lined up. First one was a nice comment, so I'm going to pass this along. This is on the topic of ChatGPT and using your code, LadyAda. A person in the chat said, I reference LadyAda's code all the time. It's always clear and well laid out.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Will the Adafruit Matrix portal work as a replacement for the Adafruit Matrix Portal S3? I'm trying to make an LED Matrix scoreboard.
In that project, no, you need to use the S3 because you need that extra memory. But here's the good news. We just got some parts in and we will be able to get the Matrix portal in the shop really soon. So sign up and hopefully by the end of this week or early next week, we'll have the Matrix portal S3 and it sells out very fast.
Okay.
Hopefully we got enough parts this time.
Question for the engineer. I'm trying to get a Braincraft hat or voice bonnet audio to work with the Pi 5 Bookworm. The GitHub repo from Learn Guide doesn't work on the Pi 5 bookworm. Not yet, nope. How or where could I look for an alternative to install to play audio? I don't know where to look. Pi 5 is new.
It's Pi, yeah, the Pi 5 and Bookworm is new, and so it's not too surprising that it doesn't work yet. I think you might want to open up a GitHub issue on the place where we have the script, and we're working on it. The person who has been doing a lot of the Pi 5 updates, they just finished the Pi TFT stuff.
Yeah.
They can work on, and they did the I2S microphone in, so the next one is to do I2S amplifier
Yeah,
out.
always takes a little bit when a new Pi comes out, and
Yeah.
we don't know what's coming out before it comes out. By the
Yeah.
way, like we sell them, but we don't get like super advanced notice besides what the resellers get, and then we go as fast as we can update things. Okay, next, can the iSpy do 8-bit parallel, or should I use something else from Max Refresh?
The iSpy is just SPI. 8-bit parallel, you probably wouldn't want such a long cable anyways. So for that, you want to have it plug in directly into the board, because 8-bit parallel is going to be it's not that it isn't fast, but you're going to get a little bit more crosstalk from all those pins. So I think just direct on a PCB is the best thing to do.
And this one, someone's answering in the chat. You might have other things to add. LadyAda, what is the easiest way to create a GUI on a small display using CircuitPython? Suggestion was Display.io.
Yeah, we have a lot of tutorials on Display.io, so check it out.
Thanks, DJ Devin, for linking up some.
Yeah, it's a little different than if you're using Arduino, where you're like, oh, I just draw everything to screen each time. With Display.io, you tell it, here's an object, and it will manage the redrawing for you. So that uses a lot less memory, and it means you don't get flickering. So it's a much more elegant way to do display, but you have to learn how to do it. But we have a lot of guides on how to do so.
Okay, this one probably has a whole bunch of different answers, depending on what people are going to do. How did you get into PCB design, and what resources are helpful?
I just wanted to build a project, and I couldn't get all the parts individually, and so I had a free copy of EagleCAD, and that's how I learned how to do PCB design. I think that was the first way I did it. But I had also roommates who did PCB design, so I could ask them for help.
And that was a while ago. So
That was a while ago.
but now, though, if you didn't know what you know, what resources, what places would you look for?
There's so many KiCad tutorials online. I would just check out like YouTube videos on KiCad, or tutorials on Instructables. There's tons and tons. Fritzing is also a great way to get started. It's a little simpler, and it's like you chunks and blocks. We have a couple guides on using Fritzing as well. Those are the two things. I'd say Fritzing if you're like really just beginner, you want to get started. I know there's a lot of like online PCB editing software. I've not been successful using those. So those are my two recommendations. But people have used them.
The most prolific folks, they were using Eagle. Maybe they won't be using Eagle eventually. But KiCad is the one that you see probably the biggest community around as well. It's also open source. So I would say check out any of the resources for KiCad. And there's lots of videos, tutorials. There's social media places where people talk about stuff. I mean, it's one of the few tools that probably has a community as big and as you get something out at the end, which is a board. Like, you can download open source software and use like GIMP and like, things for images. There's lots of tools out there, but you don't necessarily get something tangible. Like when you learn KiCad, you eventually get something physical in your hand. It's like it worked or it didn't.
And like I said, there's so many tutorials, like zero to hero.
Yeah, there's a Discord for KiCad as well. So there's a lot of that's what I would say. Start with that. Okay. Looks like that is all the questions. Okay, cool. People are sharing some resources.
Thank you.
Chat.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's got PCB opinions.
Okay. Well, those were the questions.
Okay. That's exactly that.
Yeah, do a reminder. Toe is the code. Thank you, everyone. Don't forget there's free stuff you get.
Free.
And if it's after the holidays, you're still looking to do stuff, send people an Adafruit gift certificate. We very much appreciate your support. We're doing an open source hardware company. No loans of venture capital. We don't monetize you. We just
no banner ads.
Publish our files out there. We make physical things you can buy too. We very much appreciate it if you can help support a USA open source hardware company. There's not many of us, so we do appreciate your orders.
Thank you.
We'll see everybody next week. This has been an Adafruit production. This is your moment of Xenon.
Good night, everyone.